Alright guys, so this is Christian here. Today I'm going to be making a video on a question a lot of beginners ask me. So whenever I've done one-on-one calls with my subscribers or I've met beginners, in real life through friends and family or by going to events, one question a lot of people ask me is like what path should they go from like being so that they can go from being a student or having a job to being able to make money online. So they ask me like what should they do? Like what path do I recommend for them and like what like kind of like way should they follow, right? And the question or like the answer to this question is actually really like complex because everyone's situation is different. But one thing that's for sure is that you need to have some stable income or some source of income that can fund your business. So, for example, let's say you're starting a marketing agency or you want to make a different type of online business. The good thing about online business is that you can start these businesses without a lot of capital. You don't need like thousands of dollars or millions of dollars to invest in these businesses because they're mostly online and they have like low cost, but there are still like some costs that you have to like endure, which is like, for example, let's say you're starting a marketing agency, you were gonna have to do outbound or you're gonna have to run ads, and it's gonna cost you like the cost of the ads or the cost of the software to be able to send these messages. Let's say you have cold email, you need to buy the emails, the inboxes, have the tools to be able to send the cold emails and so on, right? So there is some cost. It's going to cost you a few $100s, maybe even a few $1,000s, depending on how many messages you're sending and like the size of like your ad budget as well. So whenever you start an online business, it's not zero. I know a lot of people told you that you could start businesses for zero. You just need like a phone and some Wi-Fi, and that's not completely true. You do have to have like tools. Even ChatGPT costs $20 a month. CapCut Pro is like $10 or to $15, right? So there are some costs when starting your online business. You need to have some money, not only for the tools, but let's say for example you wanted to invest in a community course or a mentorship program, you would need to have some money saved up to invest in that program so that you can accelerate your learning and be able to progress quicker, right? So that's something that a lot of people don't tell you. They tell you you could start a business for zero, right? And there's no cost, but actually you need like a few $100s, right? You need maybe even a few thousand if you want to buy like a really good course or mentor to be able to help you progress quicker. So now we know that this is not true. Like you can't start with zero. You do need some money. And the good thing is that you don't need a lot of money to be able to start. You don't need to have like 5,000, 10,000, or 50,000 saved up. You could start with just a few $100s or a few $1,000s. And to be able to get this money, that's going to require you to have like some level of like part-time job or full-time job to be able to get this like income to be able to reinvest it into your business. And I know that this part sounds like not appealing. You wanted to become an entrepreneur. You wanted to make online money so that you don't have to work a job, so that you don't have to do this or that, right? But at some stage of your career, you have to do that. You have to like be able to work this job to be able to save the money to be able to start the business, right? It's kind of like a stage that you can't skip. And I know if like there might be like some other ways, like maybe if you do side hustles where you like flip items or you like buy and sell things or you find a way to make some income outside of like just a job. And if you can do that, that's great. But if you can't, then having like a 9 to 5 will be the way to do it. And you also have to keep in mind that this is not going to be like a permanent thing. This could only be something that you do for a couple months until your online business starts to take off and you can make money from that full time. And let's look at me for example. So what I used to do right here in 2019, this is 2019 to 2020, like during the pandemic, I was a student. So this is 2020, and this is me in 2021, where I spent this time, saving money from this job that I had right here, and I was only making like $1,500 to $2,000 per month, and a certain amount of this income was being used to fund this online business. At the time, I was doing Instagram day pages, but later on, I would go on to do affiliate marketing. And when I did affiliate marketing, I was running ads, and I didn't even have that much capital saved up when I started to run these ads, but I had some money or some credit cards, like where that I could use to like leverage them and be able to make money from the online business that I was working on. So this job helped me save not only like money to buy communities, I also bought courses, I bought mentorship programs, and I invested a lot in like being able to learn new things, join new communities, be open to like new opportunities, right? Because when I joined that affiliate marketing opportunity, I got it from being inside a community that I paid for, right? So this job allowed me to like not only buy tools, but also buy the courses, buy the communities, buy the mentorship programs that eventually allowed me to have that affiliate marketing opportunity, right? So again, it's important that you guys have money because if you guys are starting from zero, you guys can't even afford CapCut, you guys can't even afford ChatGPT, you can't afford any tools like or whatever like course or program or software that you're going to need to like be able to do the online business. You're not going to be able to do it, and you're going to have to resort to doing like free methods, and free methods are not as good as like paid methods because the reason why they're free is because they're slower, they're lower leverage, and they require more manual work. Let's say, for example, you're doing Instagram DMs. You can send Instagram DMs from your account for free, but it'd be much better if you have virtual assistants building lists for you, virtual assistants or bots sending the messages for you. If you have like a team scraping the leads and then and then a bot sending them for you, and then you have a software that organizes all your leads list and has automations, all these things. It's going to be so much better, but all these things cost money, right? As opposed to you manually sitting down and just sending DMs by yourself with your very own list. That's going to be free, but that's going to be less effective. That's going to be slower, and you're going to spend more time sending these messages before you can make a return on investment, before you can sign a client, before you can make money, right? So what you need to do is get a job, even if it pays you like $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000 in whatever city that you're in, and let's say, for example, you're not as fortunate. You're not in the U.S. or the U.K., Canada, Australia. Even if this job pays you $300, $500, or $800 a month, that's still enough to be able to invest. Because what I said earlier was that you only need a few $100s. Let's say ChatGPT $20, CapCut's like $10 to $15, and then some of these other softwares might just be like at most $50 or $99, right? So when you have the job, you just use the job to like pool your money, and there'll be a portion of this money that you need to live. Let's say like half of it is like your rent and food, and then another quarter of that is like other things that you need, like for example your gym membership, or like maybe like other expenses that you have like transportation and things like this. And then right here you have like a chunk that isn't spent. It's like leftover money, and then this leftover money you use it for your online business. You buy CapCut, you buy GPT, you buy any other tools that you need, whatever you need. And then maybe you have like a school community that's like $50 that teaches you things. Maybe you're in a Discord that also teaches you more things about that business. And you have maybe, and then after like maybe saving up some money, you have like you save up like $500, and you invest it into a course. And then you keep saving money, and then eventually you have like 2K that you can invest inside a mentorship program, right? Mentorship. So the goal right here is to get like as much money as possible from your 9 to 5 job so that you can invest it in tools, like ChatGPT, schools, Discord, courses, or mentorship programs. Because the truth is that it's possible to start with $0, right? But it's just going to be a lot harder. It's going to be a lot slower. And the slower and the harder something is, the more likely you're going to quit. So for example, let's say this is the graph right here. Let's say you're doing it for free. Your graph is going to look like this. It's going to be really flat line. It's going to be slow. And then eventually you're going to have then you're going to go slow again. You're going to go a little bit higher, then slow again. And it's just going to look like this. Meanwhile, if you have like some capital to invest, it can look something more like this, for example. It's going to look a little bit more linear, a little bit more exponential. It's still not going to be linear. It's going to be like kind of like this. And then eventually it's going to have like, it's going to shoot up, right? Because that's how it works. And who do you think is more likely to give up? This guy right here or this guy? Let's say right here, we cut it through the middle, right in the middle right here. This guy is still like kind of where he started. He's like making no progress almost. And this guy has some progress. Like he hasn't shot up like up to here yet, but he has way more progress than this guy. And because of because progress is like kind of like what keeps you motivated, what keeps you wanting to continue. If you have no progress, then you're not going to want to really do it because you just feel like it's not working. You're going to start to get like shiny object syndrome. You're going to want to like change businesses. You're going to want to change skills. You're going to want to like try to do something else. You're gonna lose motivation. You're not gonna see like light at the end of the tunnel because this is such a slow journey, and that's why a lot of guys don't fit. A lot of guys fail because some of them don't even firstly they don't even get the job, right? They don't have a job that gives them income, or they don't have side hustles, or let's say they do have side hustles and they do have some income. Some people are just afraid or they're hesitant, so they spend $0. And if you have a job and you spend all your money right here, let's say this is your money, and you spend all of it, and you invest 0%, then it's basically like having no job or no income source for your business. So what you want to do is avoid this, like avoid spending all your money from your job, because then you can't invest in your courses and your learning and your progress and your tools. And also, like, even if you have some leftover money, some people are still going to hesitate. Some people are going to have like a circle like this with some little bit of money left, but they're afraid, right? They have fear. Like, what if I lose my $300? What if I lose my $2,000 saved up? What if I lose my $500 that I took a long time to save, right? And a lot of people are going to be afraid of losing this money, and that's why they'll never like buy the course, they'll never buy the mentorship, they'll never like start the business, they'll never buy the tools. And the problem with this is that when you take no shots, you're going to be like this guy right here. You're going to be on this really flat line of progress. Meanwhile, the people who invest and the people who spend a lot of time learning, and they buy the tools, they hire the virtual assistant, they spend the money on the things that they're supposed to spend, they have a little bit more progress. And let's say, for example, that's like a good scenario. Let's say that it's not as generous as that, and it looks more like this. It's a little bit more flat. And then there's also, obviously, there's some downturns that it looks like this, and it's something like that. Now let's put the line in the middle right here. This guy right here made some progress. Not as much progress as the graph right here, but they made some progress. And eventually, like at this point, they had some downturn. But whenever you hit this bottom right here, you're gonna remember, okay, I was up here, I was making 3K. I'm back at 0. But if I made 3K once, I can get back up, and then you jump up to 6K, and then you just go back to 8K, and you just keep going higher. So you have to understand, like, the journey is gonna be hard, and you're gonna more likely to be to quit if your like progress is like this. This is like 0, and this is 0, right? So this guy right here made no money in maybe like multiple months because he didn't invest anything. And free methods do work, as you can see right here. Eventually he hits like a spike here. Maybe this is like 3K, but most guys don't get there, right? So in this whole time, this guy hit 4K maybe at the end. Let's say 4K right here. Okay, that looks a little bit weird. Let me scratch that off. 4K. So the guy who invested 0 money went from 0 to 0 at the halfway point, and then they hit 3K, and then they hit 4K eventually. Meanwhile, the guy who invested some money hit 3K right here, the halfway point, went back to 0, hit 6K, and then hit 8K again. And then the good scenario guy hit 5K, and they eventually shot up to like 50K, right? So I know that if you invest money and you like, you buy ChatGPT, buy the software tools, invest in the courses, the community, the mentorship, you're not always going to end up like this guy. You're not always going to go straight up to 5K and then jump up to like 50K. That's not always going to happen, but that could happen, right? But this is never going to happen if you're not like investing any money. If you're not investing any money, you're probably going to end up being like this guy right here. You're going to be trying, be at 0. And then at this point, you kind of like, this is where most people would quit, right? Most people would quit at this halfway point. And the reason why is because after a while, you're trying for a long time. Maybe you've been trying for months. Maybe you're spending like 5 hours or 8 hours a day, right? Trying to make this work, and you have no results. You're going to lose motivation. And it's a lot harder to lose motivation when you already hit 5K or when you're at 3K right here, right? So you're really likely to quit, and most people do quit right here. and they never reach 3K. And even if you like, let's say you break through and you break through the bar and you hit 3 or 4K, that's still kind of low. That had you just invested a little bit, you could have been at 8 or you could have even been at 50, right? But instead, because you chose like the free path, like the no investment path, you're only at 3 or 4K. And this is like barely enough to be able to like replace your full-time income, right? So it's good, but it's not like the end goal. We want to be able to reach 50K and beyond, right? Or we want to be able to reach 8K where we can go full time and we don't have to have a side job or we don't have to like do anything else, right? So remember, this is like non-investor, no money, and this is like afraid, and this is like growth mindset, risk taker, and this right here is also the risk taker, but he's an unlucky risk taker, unlucky risk taker, and this is the lucky risk taker. As you can see, right, the lucky risk taker hits 50K and has like a consistent path upwards. The unlucky guy goes up and down, but still ends up way higher than the guy who's afraid, right? So you don't want to be this guy in the middle. The guy in the middle right here, 0 to 0, then after like a long time hit 3 or 4K. The unlucky risk taker hit 3K, then went to 0, then hit 6K, and then it went 8K. And the lucky risk taker went from 0 to 5K to 10 to 50K. And that's kind of like where you want to be at. This guy or this guy. This is kind of like the path of the guy who was afraid, and this is the path of where most guys give up, right? Most guys go from 0 to 0 and then quit. So my recommendation for you guys is to not only just get a job to be able to get the income, but make sure that you guys are not like this guy. This guy's investing 0 of his money. This guy has a little bit of money, but he's afraid, so he doesn't do it. And this guy is doing it the right way. He has like a pie chart. He has this is his savings. He deploys his savings to the tools, ChatGPT, school, Discord, courses, mentorship. This is like, this guy right here is the one that becomes the unlucky risk taker or the lucky risk taker. And this guy right here that spends 0 money or is afraid ends up always being this guy in the middle right here that eventually only hits 3 or 4K after like a long period, and these other guys overlap them, right? Like this is double and this is like, I don't know, like 12 times more, right? So I know the graph is starting to look a little bit messy and confusing, and I kind of repeated some topics because I really want you guys to like drill this into your mind and to realize that you have to like invest some money. There's no way that you're going to be able to start an online business without doing any money. I mean, you could, but then you'd have to be this guy right here in the middle. And ideally, we don't want to be that guy. We want to be this guy here, or we want to be the guy up here. But anyways, I hope that this kind of like, it was a little bit confusing and it's a little bit like unscripted, but I hope that this video can kind of help you. And again, just make sure you guys like this video, comment if you have any questions or suggestions, and then subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be posting more videos. This is like an unstructured video, but in the next video, I want to make like graphs and a script, and also go in depth in a really like good topic that isn't like as like unstructured as this one. So again, guys, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel.